Thank you for joining us and doing this. The question I'm starting with for everybody is, here you go, you can introduce yourself and tell us why you're running.
Okay. My name is Robert Jubinville, and I'm running because I've spent most of my adult life in courts. I love courts. I've practiced many years and had thousands of trials. I've had them with good DAs and bad DAs, good assistant DAs and bad assistant DAs, and I know the difference. And I don't say it with pleasure, but the District Attorney's Office in Norfolk County, its reputation has really suffered greatly over the handling of certain high-profile cases. And to me, that's a serious matter, because when people don't trust the DA's office, it causes all kinds of other problems. So to me, it was, I have to run. I got to give it a shot because I want to change it. I want to bring back the reputation that I knew from prior DAs along the way. We've never had these problems.
And I think that reputation is, why this field is so crowded for this primary. There's 7 Democrats running in this primary. Yeah. What is your position right now on DA Michael Morrissey in particular, and how he's handled this role, especially under the public pressure the last few years?
Okay, so I've known Mr. Morrissey a long time. And unfortunately for him, he listened to assistant district attorneys.
Tell me more.
Mr. Morrissey wasn't a trial lawyer. So he had assistant district attorneys, and they handled all the prosecutions. An elected DA doesn't prosecute anybody.
Right.
They're administrators. The last one, the prosecutor, was about 4 decades ago. And I know because I did the trial with him down the Cape. But to me, he listened to people that led him astray, and he didn't keep a tight leash on assistant district attorneys. And when you don't, the results are what we've seen. And a collapse in the morale of the office, incompetent investigations. Nobody seemed to have a handle on anything. He was talked into handling it the way it did. The office knew the investigation was compromised and corrupted, in my view, right from the beginning. And in the Reed case, my view is she never should have been even charged with a crime based on that investigation.
You're walking me right into my next question. I want to go through a few cases, and I've asked everybody this exact same question, which is, if you had been the district attorney back in January of 2022 when Officer O'Keefe's body was found on Brian Albert's front lawn in Canton, would you have sought to charge Karen Reed, and if so, with what charges?
Well, I would have looked, first of all, I would have had an investigation that wasn't compromised. You cannot have people investigating somebody for a crime who they hate. In other words, she's the target. We know she did it. Now let's find evidence that we can stick to her. It's the opposite of what you should do. Investigate first with an open mind, and then come to a conclusion whether you got enough to charge somebody. Now, in my view, she was overcharged and under-prosecuted and under-investigated. I've done over 70 murder cases in my career, and I didn't see much of a second-degree murder there at all. That was a stretch. I don't know why they did that. I have a theory. I've been in cases where people have been overcharged, and I hope it wasn't for the reason I'm thinking.
Which is?
Which is, you overcharge somebody, you send the case to the jury. The jury says not guilty on the second degree. But now we'll give the DA something, we'll find her guilty down here.
Almost like a shoot for the moon, you land among the stars approach.
The problem with that is, jurors can find you guilty for any reason. They don't have to answer to you or anything. They can find you guilty because they don't like the way you look. If they said guilty on that second, that woman would have been doing 25 years or more in state prison. You can't do that to people. That to me always bugged me when that happened.
Do you think you would have sought to charge her, knowing what you know about the investigation?
Not on that investigation.
Okay.
How do you charge a citizen of this Commonwealth with an investigation that the investigators hate somebody? Hate
so
the person.
So with how the investigation went,
yes.
You don't think anybody could have been charged?
No. Well, she couldn't have been because they hated her. So it's first of all unfair. It is not the way to they should have had independent investigators coming in that case. People that knew the parties, hung out with the parties, should have been out of it. And fresh heads come in that didn't know anybody. Now let's look at the evidence. Unfortunately, I think, and if I'm, elected and I get sworn in, I'm going to review that whole case from top to bottom and release whatever is in it to the public. I'm a big transparency guy in that. Everything goes out by law that I can let out. But you've done such a terrible job, first of all, getting her into court. Overcharged. She could have been charged in the district court with negligent homicide in the district court. It would have been over in 3 or 4 months. And if she was found guilty, she probably would have got probation. But they didn't. They wanted the publicity around the case, I think, got under the skin of the DA's office. And they got mad, so we can get the ADAs talk to the DA, and we can do this. We can put a trial on it. Look, you didn't have to be a lawyer to know after the first trial that case was going nowhere. Not the assistant DAs. We can win. We'll hire a special prosecutor. Nice fellow, I know him, but he never prosecuted before. If he said, Morrissey said to me, "Do you want to prosecute this?" I said, "Mike, I've never sat in that bench. I'm not trained as a prosecutor." And the guy they chose wasn't. He got anywhere between $500,000 and $1 million. Rumor.
No, a fact, 500 and something thousand.
Okay.
We got his receipts.
Total waste of money. You get 50 assistant DAs in the office. You mean one of them can't try that case?
Right.
He did worse than the first guy did. When you think about it.
Well, true mistrial versus.
Yes. Yeah. And it just ruined the office. It really did.
On that note, the fallout from that case will be in the hands of the next DA, and that is that any cases that Michael Proctor touched that could potentially unravel, that's still going on. Brian Walsh was convicted recently.
Yeah.
Michael Proctor was part of the investigation into his case. Miles King's case is ongoing.
Right.
What's your plan to deal with Proctor's cases?
You've got to review every single one of those cases from top to bottom.
It's a lot of work.
A lot of work. What I am going to do is get a group of retired judges that I respect, some retired defense attorneys, some retired assistant DAs that I respect, and have them come in and go through all of those cases and write a report on all of them and give it to the public. There's been a lot of holdback with emails, not releasing them until they had to. Well, we know the emails between the trooper and the sergeant from Canton. Does anybody have to say how disgraceful they were? Of course not. But to me, they knew that. The DA's office knew that before the first trial because some of Proctor's emails got into evidence.
Right.
So they had them all. They had the ones that didn't get into evidence. They knew all about that call between these two, the way they talked. Everything those two fellas touched, you got to review. I sometimes think when I'm by myself, is there somebody sitting in jail right now, state prison, convicted because of he was black or Jewish or Asian? And we know from DNA, people do sit in jail for long periods of time. And they get released because they didn't do it. The DNA proved it.
Right.
But there was a assistant DA in a courtroom pointing to the jury saying, he did it, convict him.
I want to ask you about another case.
522.
Okay, thank you. Going to the future, have you looked into the Aiden Carney case at all?
Somewhat.
Do you have any thoughts about what you would do? Because he'd be going to trial for witness intimidation right around the time when the new DA would get sworn in.
Well, I would postpone that if I get in. I want to look at that case.
You would want to review it before it went to trial?
100%. Look, I know he got under the skin of the DA's office big time. But I don't know everything he did, but he seemed to do what reporters do, only he was kind of heavy-handed with it.
Okay.
He did his own thing, and it got a lot of people upset that he was asking questions and so forth. So they prosecute them. They get a warrant out of a district court. Now, I'm a clerk now of a court. You don't get a warrant out of me unless you can prove that that person isn't going to show up on a summons. They arrest him in front of a school bus with his children getting on the bus.
So you're suggesting that there was some like personal animus there?
They hated him, yeah. So I would look at that, and personally, unless there's something in it that I don't know, I'd null press that case tomorrow if I was the DA today.
Really?
Get rid of this saga. It's been terrible. The money spent on it is outrageous to the taxpayers. Get rid of it.
Okay. What would you mentioned the ADAs, just what would your staffing plan be? Like, would you be looking to clean house, or would you look at who works there and keep them? What do you think?
Well, I know a lot of people in that office over the years, and a lot of them had nothing to do with this. You just can't come in with a meat cleaver and throw the whole office out. You'll spend the next 4 years hiring people. So it was only the top people that were making those decisions.
Okay.
And some of the others that were involved were told, you do this, do that. They weren't making the decisions. So I think there's got to be a cultural change in that office. And that's the top echelon.
Management,
the supervisors,
really.
management, yeah. You got to have that.
Okay.
Otherwise, the public is never going to. The public will have the same opinion if I'm in there. What has he done? He hasn't changed anything.
I mean, you've been a lawyer in the state for a long time. So a lot of the people who, there's some like newcomers in this race who are saying, public corruption in Norfolk County, but you're saying so too, as someone who knows people intimately in the system.
Yeah.
You think corruption is the right word?
These whole cases, they were corrupt, in a sense, because fairness wasn't done. And you can't run an office like that. Everybody's got to get treated fair, whether they're suspects or whether they're not. You got to treat people fair, and follow the rules. All this stuff was self-inflicted. This didn't have to happen.
Right? Had the investigation been more done
thorough,
cleanly? Yeah.
Been right, and the DAs didn't have the position they had and overcharged her, and charged Mr. Carney, and the Birchmore case is another example of a terrible lack of investigation, taking the word of a medical examiner. I've interviewed 50 medical examiners or more on the stand. Some of them wonderful. Some of them think they're prosecutors. They want the reports to look, I'll make my findings to match the report. No good.
2 more questions for you. The first one being, who do you consider to be your biggest competition in this race?
I don't know. I don't think of those kind of things.
Really?
Yeah. I've been on the governor's council for 10 years. I ran it. People would always say that. Hey, what do you think? I said, look, I'm running. I don't know what anybody's going to do. I do my thing. If I win, I win. If I don't, I can go back to what I'm doing. But I don't know. I mean, some of the candidates I know from the courts.
Right.
And they're all good people. But who is my biggest opponent? You got me. If you can tell me, I'd appreciate that.
Okay. My final question for you, I've said this to everybody. I'm going to give you 30 seconds, which is why I'm bringing my phone. This will be your 30-second elevator pitch for why someone should vote for you in this crowded race. All right?
Yep.
Ready? Go.
Okay. Well, I bring long experience in the court system, like I said, most of my adult life. And I'm a veteran of the United States Army. And when I got out of the Army, I went on the state police and went to law school nights and then started practicing criminal defense work. And I was proud to say I'm only one of 3 board-certified criminal trial attorneys in the history of the Commonwealth. So I bring that experience to the job. But I'm also strong enough to know you administer, you hire, you train, and you keep a tight leash on assistant district attorneys or you're in trouble.
That's time. Thank you.
That was easy.
There you go.
Oh, I thought I was going to get tomatoes thrown at me.
No, there you go. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Were we done off now?
Yeah, the camera's done. Thank you. You